or what is more commonly known as the Buy American bill. It's an effort to put Iowans and American workers back to work. You know, Mr. President, many of Iowa's roads and bridges and schools, water and sewer systems, and other critical infrastructure facilities need to be repaired throughout the state. And as we do, Iowa and American companies should really have the first crack at state and local government's construction contracts. Our dollars should not reward companies who move jobs overseas. We should not give advantages to foreign manufacturers who ignore worker safety and environmental standards. And whenever our tax dollars are spent, Mr. President, they should be used to create jobs here, not overseas. Senate File 2287 establishes a clear and reasonable common sense preference for American-made products when they're available and cost-effective. This bill contains waivers for any bids that might be over 5% of the total cost. This Buy American approach has been used by the federal government and transportation since 1933, more than 80 years. As a matter of fact, it was President Reagan who significantly expanded it to cover more transportation costs in 1983. Mr. President, I think that this is a great thing for us to stand up for today, to make sure that not only Iowans but all Americans have an opportunity to participate in the process of manufacturing. You know, since 2001, just in that last short period of more than a dozen years, we've lost almost 1/3 of the manufacturing jobs here in the United States. I think this is an important issue that needs to be addressed across the country, and especially here in Iowa. I do know that there are other states that have similar provisions. Matter of fact, there are 10, including our neighboring states of Illinois and Wisconsin. There are also other states, almost 10 of them, including Iowa, that are trying to pass similar legislation, including our neighboring states of Kansas, Minnesota, and Nebraska. With that, Mr. President, that concludes my opening remarks.
Final remarks on Senate File 2287.
Well, thank you, Mr. President. Senator Johnson, thank you for your comments. I just want to remind you this isn't about the public. This is dealing with public purchases. So you're more than welcome to, buy any product you want. We're not trying to change that. And this is more than just a postcard. This is for real. American workers have been at a disadvantage because of the lack of control in foreign countries, particularly overseas, where they don't have environmental standards. They don't have wage standards. And we're trying to compete as Americans against something that you can't compete with. Now, recently in the news, there's stories about a major manufacturer of a major seller of electronic components. And the companies that they use overseas, they're starting to talk about some of the deaths that occurred in there. There were aluminum explosions in their factories, no environmental standards for the workers. No environmental standards. People committing suicide, 17 suicides in a year in one factory. The women are saying that they're treated like men and men are treated like animals, and they only make $1 an hour. How do Americans compete with that? That's what this bill's about, fellow senators. It's about standing up for your brothers and sisters out there, your family members, and those Americans who are trying to work hard and do the job every day and just want to be treated fairly. And all we're saying in this bill is, not if it's 25% like the federal government has for their transportation issues, it's 25% different. We take a modest step 5% difference to try to give some jobs back to America, back to Iowa, put working men and women back to work. And I want to tell you, just go out and talk to your constituents. Almost 90% of them universally, whether they're Republicans, Democrats, Tea Party people, or liberals, will all tell you, we want jobs right here in America. That's what they want. And that's what this bill does. I believe, Mr. President, it helps put Iowans back to work. And with that, I just move the bill and for the final time and place it on its passage.